Welcome to Films Apart, the podcast where we poke fun at buried flops, unearth hidden gems, and explore timeless classics.
So grab yourself some popcorn, sit back, and let's break these films apart.
Welcome to Films Apart. Today's episode is The Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2, directed by Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi, the man himself.
Yeah.
We're doing The Evil Dead to celebrate today, a very special occasion, Ash Wednesday,
Yeah.
the celebration of Ash Williams. Celebrated by Christians all around the world for what he did in this film, destroying all evil itself.
Yeah, it's a worthy cause. Yeah,
Thank you, Ash.
Thank you. Yeah, but in reality, it is a day of repentance when Christians confess their sins and profess their devotion to God.
It's about the same.
Yeah,
It's
I pretty much
it's
the same
more
thing.
fun watching Evil Dead 2 for it.
They're both to do with a book.
They are both to do with a book.
Yeah,
About spirits and demons. So
kind of.
cool. There's demons in the Bible.
There is.
There is. I've not read it.
Well, in the Old Testament,
Yeah,
but not in the New Testament.
they not mention them at all.
Well, they might do. I've not read all of it.
You've not read up on it.
No.
Okay.
Do you think we should have read the Bible before we started doing this?
Yeah, let's go. Hang on, brief break. We're just not going to read the Bible. Come back
We'll
in
have a
like
little-
priest gear.
A little bit of music, and then
Yeah.
we'll come back. Anyway, so Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2. So, synopsis of the film. A man, Ash Williams, goes away to a cottage in the woods with his girlfriend and comes across a recording of a demon summoning ritual alongside a Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon.
Otherwise known as the Bible.
The Bible. Yeah, he finds a Bible. And when he plays this recording, it summons an evil that basically haunts. It's like a poltergeist of the woods, isn't it? Haunts the woods and comes after him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What actually struck me about that being that comes through the woods, or the spirit, or the evil spirit, is I went to watch Presence not long ago.
Yes.
And Presence is told from the perspective of a ghost in a house, and the whole of the film is from the presence of this being.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, this was doing that then.
Yeah, with the demon camp.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll mention that later on. It's a sort of, it's a mainstay in the franchise. It's recurring. It's toyed with in the latest one, Evil Dead Rise, where we see it and we're expecting a possession, and then it's a drone, point of view of his drone, who someone's flying, and then the drone's used to take off someone's head. And I think it's fun. And I think it's
clever.
It's clever. I think that's one of the examples of really creative and affordable cinematography in this film, which has basically characterized Sam Raimi's career.
Really creative filmmaking, full stop, isn't it? It's very exciting to watch as a writer or potential filmmaker, I think, because it gives you kind of lots of ideas. Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting. I mentioned that thing about the presence thing because when I watched that, it felt innovative, but it isn't that original, but it felt innovative.
Yeah.
And that kind of gave me confidence as a writer.
Yeah.
In the sense that everything's already been done.
Yeah, it's doing what's been done 1,000 times before, a ghost story set in a woods.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like nothing you've seen before with its slapstick.
But if Steven Soderbergh can make Presence, who's a really prolific director, and obviously he's going to be made on the back of his name, and it was an all right film, but it just makes me feel like, you know, there's hope.
Yeah, there's hope. Yeah, I'll say, but going off of like the camera work and creativity in this film, I feel like Sam Raimi, he solidifies himself in this franchise as a filmmaker that's not afraid to really be creative with the camera work and explore what's possible and go against what would be normal with like the demon cam and a lot of the quick like close-ups of faces.
Yeah.
And sort of when you have the sort of spinning cameras and Ash, like some of it doesn't really work too well. Like when Ash is sent flying through the woods and we have him rotated, it's like this bit looks terrible. But it's like he does these things and some of them pay off and some of them don't. But I think it's good that he does.
That bit's a little bit like the old Batman from the 60s where it goes I thought about that as well, the spinning bit. I thought it doesn't particularly work, but it kind of adds to it all. It feels exciting watching that film because you feel like somebody is just trying stuff out and being creative.
And I think as well, he didn't want to do this film originally. So he did Evil Dead 1, and he wanted to do the premise of the third film as the second, but the studio insisted that they needed to keep it closer to the first. So he basically just remade the film that he made the first time with all the learnings he's learned from that first film and as a filmmaker to retell that story. Like, we have the summary of the first film in the first sort of 15 minutes.
Well, I was just speaking to somebody about this, and apparently they've made a recut of like all the 3 films together.
Oh, okay, so it's one whole film with all 3.
Yeah, so they've cut out like the recap.
Yeah.
And then they sort of cut out a little bit at the end of obviously the second one.
Yeah.
And so it goes into the third one.
Yeah.
Just to make one big film.
That'd be quite cool.
Yeah. We should try and see that.
Yeah.
Although, this is the best film of
the 3. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. That's why we chose it. Evil Dead 1, it hasn't quite found its feet. Sam Raimi's still obviously experimenting, and I don't think he doesn't fully lean into the satire of it and the slapstick humor of it, does he? It does feel like it's trying to be scary at points, whereas this, it's just outlandish.
It just lets go.
Yeah, and that's his charm.
It's knowingly funny.
Yeah.
So you accept everything in it, I think. All the quirks and the over-the-topness.
Yeah.
Is all a part of it.
Yeah, because it's fun. As long as it's making you laugh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how can it not be funny, with like his hand gets cut off and he's...
The whole scene where his hand becomes possessed and he's smashing the plates over his head, like, that's amazing acting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But even how he's experimental with like tones like that, with his like slapstick, like horror, whilst you're seeing some pretty gory stuff. It's like normally you don't tend to see them two merge together before this film, anyway. And then with his like the structuring of the film of retelling the whole first film within the first 15 minutes, it's like it gets you straight into the film, and there's never really, if you're looking at it like basic structure, like you have your before, midpoint, and end. It's like he does the entire first act in the first 5 minutes, and it's just straight into the midpoint. It's like,
and it works.
Yeah, it works. You don't really question it.
It's a classic B movie, but it's like a knowing B movie. So it's like almost got like a meta element to it, like those B movies of the 50s of like The Blob and stuff like that. Which I guess they obviously had humor in them, but this feels much more knowingly B movie.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
So do you want to give a quick synopsis? Have we done that?
Yeah, I've sort of already did it. He goes to his girlfriend and releases a demon, and then they have to send it back. Yeah.
But then obviously
some more people show up. Yeah, but they're just extra bodies.
Well, no, they're not. Because they're to do with the reason that the recording's there and in the first place.
Do you want to go into that bit then?
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about a film, we might as well talk about a fucking film. This podcast has gone down the pan.
Yeah. It's the daughter of the man who's done the recordings. What's the man's name?
I don't know, but I know what his wife's name is. Henrietta.
There's
a kind of professor and his wife that go to this place in the woods, and they are translating the Necronomicon. Yeah. And he records this, and what happens in the recording of it is he evokes the spirit, and the spirit comes to them, and he's kind of they're both consumed by this evil spirit.
So this spirit possesses Ash's girlfriend, and he's forced to basically kill her. He's tormented by it, takes her head off, and then her corpse reanimates itself and is possessed in order to continue to sort of torture him. And we don't really know what the reasoning that this demon does this, other than it just seems like it does it to torment.
Eating souls?
It doesn't just do that though.
It tortures as well.
Yeah, it like tortures and like forced him to take his girlfriend's head off, and then when he's trying to destroy the head, it's like crying to him and talking to him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's expanded on much in this film or if it's more in other media of the sort of franchise. But at least there's a game. It's like a multiplayer game where one team plays as the demons and one team plays as like Ash Williams and like other sort of side characters. And with that, in order to possess someone, you need to instill them with fear. So I don't know if that's like mentioned in the other films, but it is, I think, in order to possess a person, they need to instill them with enough fear in order to take over their body.
Well, I mean, it's more the seduction, isn't it? In that film, it seems to me that like when the Henrietta, so basically the daughter of this couple comes to the house to as part of translating this book because they feel like it's a portal to another world. So when she gets there, she finds out that they've been killed, and then her mom is reanimated as this evil dead, and then she sort of flips back into herself, doesn't she?
Same as when his girlfriend's head's in the shed with the chainsaw and he's done a cut through it, and then the moment he goes to, she's like, Ash, what are you doing? Don't do this to me. And it just torments them.
Yeah. Although the spirit gives that up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I thought.
Because
if he'd just carried on like he or she had carried on doing it a little bit longer, like it might have persuaded him not to.
Yeah.
Try and kill it.
But it didn't work anyway.
No.
It reanimates itself in his hand, which he chops off.
One of the things that I feel is like a hole in the film, and maybe I'm missing something, is his like level of possession. Because obviously he gets his hand a bit, and then his hand's possessed. We understand that. Then the hand gets cut off, and we make the leap that he's not possessed anymore.
Yeah.
But then the spirit comes back into the woods, and you think it's going to get a different person, but it ends up getting Ash.
Yeah.
And then Ash is like evil for a while, and then all of a sudden he's not, and because he's reminded of his partner, his dead partner, and then he's like all right again, and the other woman who's there is trying to kill him, and she goes, no, I'm all right, I'm trying to tell you I'm all right, and it's like, well, why would we believe that you're all right when we've seen, it feels like a bit of a hole that.
Yeah, I think that is where it's like this demon doesn't have power over you unless it's manipulated you into letting it enter your body, I presume. Because it normally enters him when he's unconscious in the forest the first time. I can't remember what happens to him for him to get possessed the second time.
It just comes into the woods. The guy. So there's like another guy and a girl that are there.
Yeah, they give like a guide.
Yeah.
To the woods. Shack. Yeah.
Show him to the shack in the woods.
So for the girl, the daughter of the professor that's read the Necronomicon, and her boyfriend, they're these sort of like hillbilly types, aren't they?
Yeah.
Guy and a girl that basically work as their guides because the road's been destroyed.
And the girl in this case gets taken into the woods, raped by a tree.
Yeah.
And then she's got this rape thing again.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the woods and he's shouting, Billy Joe, or is it Billy Joe, something like that. And he's going, don't, you'll wake the dead, or whatever he says. And then the dead, like, then you see the demon kind of presence camera kind of coming towards him.
Yeah.
But then the next thing you know, Ash is like, turned into the Evil Dead. But I just felt like I feel like I'm thinking about it too much, really, because the film doesn't need that, does it?
No.
It's fun.
Yeah, I think it's just fun, and I feel like when he is that evil Ash, the prosthetics are brilliant, like the deeply bagged eyes and stuff, and so cool.
It's so old school now.
Yeah,
but it just works, doesn't it? You don't question it. You don't like when Henrietta is in the cellar and comes out, and the neck just stretches out into this really long. Like, you just don't question any of that stuff. It just feels all very creative and fun.
Yeah. I feel like as well, there's like other parts of this which some have aged really well, I feel like, and some hasn't. There's a lot of stop motion in it for the like prosthetics. There's a scene where the corpse of his girlfriend, after he's buried her, comes back out the ground and starts doing sort of ballet, like the headless corpse.
Yeah.
I feel like bits like that have aged well, but other parts...
But then you say that
stop motion, I think when there's the crossover of stop motion and the sort of normal foot camera work, it doesn't. Some of the parts don't work. None come to mind.
I mean, even that dancing bit feels a little bit like, those 1960s Jurassic films. You know what I mean, like the Jason and the Argonauts and those sorts of things. But I felt like that all worked still, because it's all just part of it, yeah. We were talking earlier, weren't we? It's like the old Doctor Who's. The old Doctor Who's, they're terrible. Like, in fact, even some of the effects of the newer Doctor Who's were weren't good. But you just forgive all of that stuff. Yeah. In fact, when it's really bad, it's even better in a way. It's just because there is a charm to it.
One scene that was really cool, I thought, was the mirror scene.
Yeah.
Where he's sort of talking to himself in the mirror, and then it comes out, grabs him, pulls him into it. I thought that was really cool, and I thought that was done really seamlessly, and really well for a low budget film.
I feel like there's loads of like little things like that in it, and including the animation and all of this stuff. It's like he's gone to all the tools he can possibly use, and he's trying to use every bit and just experiment and play basically. It feels like somebody playing, which is nice.
It feels very Tom and Jerry as well when he's chasing after. He's chopped off his possessed hand, finally, and it's running away, and he's sort of running around after with his shotgun shooting in the walls.
Oh, it's like literally like Tom and Jerry, isn't it? I mean, it gets his finger.
Yeah, sticks his finger up to it as well, don't he?
He gets his finger caught on a mouse trap.
Yes,
and then sticks his finger up to him, but he's going through like a mouse hole in the wall,
and then you presume it's dead after you see blood start spewing out of the walls, like stuff like that in the film are brilliant.
Apparently I looked into that blood bit. There was 55 gallons, a 55-gallon drum of stage blood that was like fired at him. Yeah. And he was blowing red snot out of his nose for a week after.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And then the hand comes back later, doesn't it? And ends up stabbing. Who does it stab in the back?
The daughter.
Yeah, well, I think there's like so many iconic moments in this as well. Obviously, the most iconic one being Ash saying "Groovy," which sort of became his catchphrase. Have you ever seen the TV show?
No, I haven't. I was talking about that earlier as well. It's supposed to be brilliant.
I watched a few episodes a while ago. I don't know why I never finished it, but it's really fun.
Yeah.
And it is just fully gone into this sort of almost self-parody on parody and with Ash.
Yeah, I'd like to watch it. There's 3 seasons of it, wasn't there? And apparently the 3rd season was supposed to be the best from what I'd heard. But no, I've never watched it.
It's a cult classic. I think a lot of that is because of the experimentation it does, and some of it lands, some of it doesn't. But like you say, that's what gives it the charm that it has. And I think it allows it to get away with a lot. With like Ash, you don't really need three-dimensional characters in something like this. He's like a Mr. Bean character. He's just a slapstick guy, isn't he?
Mr.
Really?
Bean with chopping his hand off, and he's
But just that sort of, he's just a ragdoll for the story, really, isn't he? And I feel like that's amazing.
He's cartoonish, definitely.
Yeah. And I feel like that's probably why he's sort of stuck in the public image and became this sort of mainstay, and he has this cult status.
Do you know what
Same with Bruce Campbell. He's sort of he's like a cult figure himself now, isn't he?
Oh, he is, definitely, yeah. I actually felt that even though it is very over the top and cartoonish, then actually some of the insane reactions he has to the insane things that are going on around him are more real than some things that you'd watch that are made to be real.
Yeah.
Because it's insanity, isn't it? If something like that was going on, you would be going insane. You wouldn't know what was going on. No. You would be losing your mind. You probably would be seeing yourself in the mirror and having all these hallucinations. It feels really hallucinogenic, doesn't it? The whole film, really. And so there's even like some sort of weird truth in it that is not in films that try to be truthful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like we said about there's something in the barn with there being, as an example, which is made like a real film, like a real life film. We had the characters reacting, not
feeling enough.
Normal to somebody going through a chipper.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You would be kids seeing that. There would be some sort of how could you cope with that? You'd need to show that in some way. And there was none of that in that, and that was supposed to be real. Whereas in this, he's going insane about insane things. It makes more sense.
I think a scene as well, a lot of the time, people, as a way to handle with sort of stress and trauma, laughter's quite a common sort of reaction. I think the scene where everything in the house starts becoming possessed, you have the deer's head start laughing at him after I think has he just been sprayed in blood or... So it's just done something horrible to him. I can't remember what it was before, but he just starts laughing back, and then you have all the furniture laughing, and like I feel like all of that stop motion with or like animatronics, whatever it was, has aged so well, and it still looks so amazing. And then you have him in the center of the room just raucously laughing as well, and I feel like you would do that if is that much shit's going on, like. I feel like you'd just, me anyway, I'd just end up laughing. I don't know what else to do. Yeah. It's like, this isn't real. What is this?
Yeah. It's, I actually found watching it this time, I watched it about a year ago because, or whenever Evil Dead Rise came out.
Yeah, I think last year.
I watched them all leading up to that.
Yeah.
And I found that watching it again this time that I enjoyed it more than I did last time. And I enjoyed it last time, but it just, I really kind of just let go with it. It was a really easy watch and really enjoyable watch. Mm-hmm. And it might be because I watched a more serious film before it, but it was a relief to watch this film.
That's funny that you said that because I think I've probably seen it 2, 3, maybe 4 times. I only watched it for the first time when I was doing my undergraduate.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it more the first few times round of watching it than I did this time.
Okay.
I still obviously enjoyed it loads, but I think just it being this breath of sort of fresh air of something that you don't really see in comedy much. I thought it was really nice from the first time I watched it. And now you go into it expecting Evil Dead, and it's like, obviously, it's still a great film, but it's not. You're not experiencing it for the first time, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. I maybe.
That's what I found anyway.
I think there's so many things that impact when you watch a film. You know, like I said, I watched a more serious film before it.
Yeah.
And so I was in need of something a bit more lighthearted. So things like that make a difference. You know, the time of day you watch it, all of that stuff. I was probably watching it. I can't remember, but anyway, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And Evil Dead Rise, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It doesn't lean into the comedy as much.
No, it doesn't. It plays it for real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a serious film.
But then Sam Raimi wasn't directing it, and I feel like that's the charm that he brings to his projects. Have you ever seen Drag Me to Hell?
No.
It's a really, really good horror film. That has a scene in it where it's basically a girl gets cursed by an old gypsy lady.
Okay.
And it feels like it's like terrifying, and then there's bits that are just hilarious, like the woman starts licking this girl's face and stuff. It's like, what?
Is it comedy? Is it played?
It's not as comedic as Evil Dead.
Okay.
But there are parts of it that are like laugh out loud.
Okay, yeah.
It's quite a horrific film.
Okay, I'll look out for it. I mean, I've of his films, obviously, I've watched Spider-Man and whatnot, which were great. He's making another horror, I think, at the moment. Don't know what it is.
Saw something he's made. Yeah, I think I did see something about that.
But he also made A Simple Plan. Did you ever watch that film?
I've not seen that. What's that?
That's like not at all like these sorts of films. It's more of like a drama.
Okay.
You know, like a real character drama, in fact.
Yes, he's going back to that one that he's working on Send Help. It's meant to be like a cross between Misery and Castaway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
It's only just started filming, so that's going to be a while before that.
Yeah. I think he's directing it. He didn't write it, but it's to be good. I didn't realise he did Oz the Great and Powerful.
I haven't seen that.
I remember seeing that, but that is not something that jumps out as Sam Raimi.
I didn't even know.
That's really weird.
I saw that on his Wikipedia page. I didn't even know that film existed. I've never even come across it.
No,
I don't know how it passed me by.
I don't. It was a big film. It was that great.
It was a huge film. I mean, I looked at it, made a fortune. I didn't even know it existed.
It did terribly, like rating wise.
Oh,
but yeah,
it was like 57% or something on Rotten Tomatoes.
He's not made a lot in a long time, has he? After Oz the Great and Powerful, he had a bit of a hiatus until Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
he did the second one of that, which was good. I think it.
That's actually like not got amazing ratings.
No,
but I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
I thought it was good, but I think it's a good Raimi movie. I think for Marvel, with the promise in the title of Multiverse of Madness, it was the first exploration into all the possibilities, and it only really explored 2 universes. I think that's what pissed people off.
Okay.
They're expecting it to be more like Into the Spider-Verse, which like explores all these different absurd realities. But I think it works. It's a good horror film in a superhero genre.
It works. It was, the multiverse is still kind of early days in a way, isn't it? I mean, it's become part of so many different things, that sort of idea. I really enjoyed it. It was one of the last good ones, really.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the ones that was Sam Raimi being Sam Raimi. It was the most creative with what it did. Like so many of the bits, like him reanimating his own corpse from a different multiverse through like dreams and stuff like that, and the whole music note sequence where he's fighting an evil version of himself with music notes.
It's right, I don't think I even thought about the fact that Sam Raimi directed it at the time. I must have, but it wasn't like at the forefront of my mind when we started. When we decided to do Evil Dead, I didn't, I associate him with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and I associate him with Evil Dead, really. I was shocked that A Simple Plan, like as I said, that one, which was like a kind of thriller film, but like a real character film, which I watched years and years ago.
Yeah,
and I had no idea that he directed it. It's a good film.
Yeah, I feel like his recent film, well, with Doctor Strange, that feels a lot more Raimi to me than the Spider-Man films ever did. But there are aspects of the Spider-Man films, like the in the second one, there's the whole hospital scene where Dr. Octopus's like tentacles sort of take out like a whole room of sort of surgeons and stuff. It's like bits like that stand out as Sam Raimi, but I feel like he needs to be working on something that is an original idea of his to really let loose and just have full creative freedom, which he probably, I know he never did with Spider-Man, because they sort of, especially with the third one, they forced him into a lot. And Doctor Strange is obviously working with a universe that's been set up for like 20 years at this point.
I mean, the third one was by far the weakest, wasn't it?
Not 20 years, 15.
Yeah. The third one was the weakest, and but the other two I thought were very good. The first one was brilliant. I mean, I've watched that film so many times, like back in the day. Yeah, so I think there's not a lot more we can say, really, is there? I mean, it's a short film. It's fun. It's creative. It, as a filmmaker and a writer, it inspires you to kind of do stuff yourself.
Watching this for me inspired me much more as a filmmaker than just as a writer, because obviously they still have budgets of millions, but the amount of things he does with like the prosthetics and the stop motion, it's like there are ways to make your films cheap and for it to be effective. And even if it's not, it's a show off of your skill and your ability to like think on the move and planning, and just that you can pull something off that you envisioned, even if it's not the best quality. I think it's a good way to prove yourself as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I feel like horror is, for a genre that's so overlooked, it is such a way to really explore and challenge yourself as a filmmaker that not many other genres sort of bring to you.
So that's it then. We're going to make a horror?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Should we popcorn score it?
Yeah, let's popcorn score it. I would say I'd give it a 4 out of 5 for me. I don't think it's a 5 out of 5 because there are flaws. I don't think it's aged as well as other films from that time. I remember looking it up, and it this was released in like, was it like the 1889?
Something like that. Or the turn, or
87 it was.
Oh, was it 87?
The first one was 81. Yeah. I think
third one was like 91, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
92, yeah. 92. I think for me, and maybe it's just because of that, stylistically, they've moved on 6 years, but they still want it to feel and look like the first one. But I feel like there was a lot here that didn't age as well as other films of that sort of era. But obviously, a lot of them are on much higher budgets. So,
okay.
But yeah, I'd say 4 out of 5. Entertaining, fun watch.
I'd give it 4 out of 5 as well, and the reason for that is because, despite all the obvious ways in which the film's dated because of technology, it works still because the film is tongue in cheek. It's comedy. It's knowingly comedy. It's knowingly a B movie. You can't really fail when you're doing that. That's the way to do it. If you're gonna show your creative side on a budget, do it tongue in cheek.
Yeah, because
you get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so because of that, and it's by far the best of the Evil Dead films.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good fun. Any other show business?
I've not got any. So that's just quickly. That's 8 out of 10. Sweet and salty score overall.
Sweet and salty,
yeah. One of the higher rankings.
Yeah.
But yeah. What have you got any show business?
Well, I have. Yeah, I have got one. There's like an Easter egg in it.
Okay.
When he goes into the shed to kind of like attach the thing to his arm and whatnot.
Yeah.
Hanging on the wall is Freddy Krueger's.
His glove.
His glove, yeah.
That's quite cool. I didn't know that.
And it turns out that he had a pact with Wes Craven, so that they're in like both of their films. They've got like Easter eggs from the others' films. Like in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, Nancy, the heroine in it, is watching The Evil Dead on TV.
Yeah, she is, isn't she?
Yeah. And so they had like a little thing between them, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, that is cool.
We could watch that at some point. I haven't watched that since probably the 90s, I reckon.
I've watched them more recently. I actually struggle with that franchise.
Okay.
As someone who loves horror from the 70s, 80s, 90s, that's one for I really struggle with it. I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like Wes Craven. So I'm not sure why. Maybe I just need to rewatch.
Well, I suppose if your entry point to Wes Craven is Scream, which then it's a different thing, isn't it? Because that's that's another level.
Yeah.
Whereas my entry point was Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a kid, like watching them.
Yeah. I think as well, it's such like it's so ingrained in sort of the public image that before I'd seen them, I already knew everything about them. So
I'd be curious to see what I think of them now. Because I just liked them because they were gory and scary.
Yeah.
As a kid. Yeah. So anyway, good to watch it again. Hope everybody has a wonderful Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, enjoy your Ash Wednesday.
Celebrate with some sort of eye-popping candy or something.
Eye-popping candy, yeah. And, get the Evil Dead on. Yeah. Whichever's your favourite. And let us know what your favourite is.
Yeah.
Is it number 2? Do you agree with us? Or do you think the first one's better? Third one?
Some people love the third one. Some people love the third one. I don't.
I feel like that's the least memorable for me, even though it should probably be more memorable because of how crazy it is. But yeah. Okay, cool.
See you next time.
See you next time, guys. Bye.